Hello, I'm Brad Smith. Well, welcome to Unit 8 of the Supply Chain Management course. And in this unit, and for the next couple of units, we'll be looking very closely at inventory and how organisations can manage inventory to implement their supply chain strategy. Obviously, holding inventory costs an organisation money. It ties up capital, ties up time, labour to manage and monitor the inventory. However, inventory also allows an organisation to be responsive to the market. It means that as demand fluctuates, the organisation can have a stock of product ready to supply. So this trade-off that organisations have to think about is how much inventory should we have, how much capital should we tie up, versus how responsive do we want to be to the marketplace. And again, where an organisation sits in terms of their inventory management will be very much determined by where the organisation wants their corporate supply chain strategy to be on this efficiency responsiveness continuum that we've been talking about. An efficient organisation will try and hold inventory in reasonably small quantities, and when they do produce that inventory, they'll try and do it in the most efficient batch sizes that maximise their production efficiency. An organisation that wants to be responsive will hold smaller amounts of inventory because it's not so certain what the demand will be, but also they're not quite as certain what type of product the organisation, the customer, will demand. Where the inventory is held will also be quite important. Responsive organisations will want to hold the inventory close to the customer so it can be quickly supplied. Organisations seeking to be more efficient will hold larger quantities of inventory but further away from the customer. So we look at some tools this week to manage inventory and decide what are the optimum levels of inventory to hold. One of the simplest formulas we look at is simply called the economic order quantity formula, or the EOQ formula. It can also be called the economic batch size formula if it's applied to a production scenario. This simply looks at the key variables in any inventory decision, the time to set up and manufacture the inventory, the demand associated with the inventory, and the cost associated with holding the inventory. And it balances these various variables off to come up with, well, what is the most efficient quantity to produce to optimise the cost of holding inventory. We then look at a simple single period inventory model. So this is an inventory model where the organisation may only have one opportunity to purchase inventory and sell the product, and then they don't have another opportunity. Typical example might be a food outlet. Imagine if you were running a food outlet in a food court, and every day you have to stock the food products that you're going to sell, and at the end of the day you have to throw away any excess stock that you have. Health regulations don't allow you to hold it over and sell it the next day. So the important decision you have to make is, how much inventory do you hold? Too little inventory, and obviously you'll run out of product and miss sales. Too much inventory, and you'll be throwing that inventory away at the end of the day and losing profit. So we look at some simple calculations that can be done to optimise the amount of inventory that you would hold. And it really comes down to a trade-off between how much extra profit can you make by holding more inventory versus how much loss will you incur if you have to throw that inventory away. We then move on to look at what's called multi-period inventory models. So these are situations where the organisation can carry over any excess inventory they have to the following periods and use that inventory again to meet demand. The two basic models that we look at are known as the continuous review inventory model. So this is an inventory system where the company is continuously monitoring their level of inventory, and once that inventory gets down to a certain point, they will reorder more inventory, and when that inventory arrives, their inventory stocks will be replenished, and they simply repeat this process over and over. The next one we look at is known as a periodic inventory review model. So this is where the organisation decides that they are simply going to place an order for product at a certain point in time. So once a week they might review their level of inventory and place an order to replenish. And then in the following week, on the same day, they'll again review their inventory and place another order. So these organisations have decided that the simplest way to manage their inventory is not to continuously monitor the level of inventory, but just simply to look at their level once a week. A good example is if you go to one of the large supermarkets and buy a product. These days, when you buy the product at a supermarket, it's scanned, and as soon as that product is scanned at the register, the sale of that product is being deleted from the company's inventory, the supermarket's inventory. And so they will be continuously monitoring their levels of inventory and generating new orders as soon as the inventory drops to a certain level. However, if you went to a small corner store that didn't have that sophisticated technology in place, you would probably find that they simply do a review at the end of the week, look at how much they've sold, and place an order onto their supplier to send them some more product in the following week. So the decision on which to use very much comes down to how much technology the company has available to monitor their inventory levels, how involved they want to be with it, but also how critical is it that the organisation does or doesn't have inventory available for the customer. So that's our main topic for this week, inventory and inventory management. I hope you enjoy it, and I look forward to meeting up with you again in Unit 9.